Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia Brown. I'm the president of the Jewish Women's Foundation. That usually doesn't elicit applause, but I thank you very much for that. And I want to thank you, so I should be applauding. I want to thank you all for attending. I want to thank you for being here to support the work of JWF. And I know you're here because you agree with us that it's important work. I want to also really thank you for being here to celebrate my friend Paula Lasbeda. She is a dear friend, and I feel so honored to be here and be part of this celebration. Soon you'll learn more about Paula and JWF. Now it's my privilege to introduce our sponsors, whom you've been able to see on our boards, Eileen Berman and Jay Bauer, the Honorable Ann Brown and Donald Brown, Marjorie Fink, Sandra Krakoff, Vivian Lieberman, Simon Ed Sadell, I'm sorry, that's a terrible thing. Sadell Sonkin, and of course, Table 26. And we have two elected officials joining us, the Mayor of West Palm Beach, Jerry Moore, and our State Attorney General for Palm Beach County, Dave Arenberg. Now, I haven't seen them. I hope you're here. We also have David Fuhr, our cantor at Temple Emmanuel, and last but definitely not least, Michael Hoffman, who is the CEO of the Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County. So thank you all. Kanta, could you come up and do the motzi so everybody could maybe start? Thank you, Kanta.
Good afternoon or good morning. I don't know how you call it, before or after lunch. I am honored to represent Rabbi Presnick to do the motzi and in honoring Paula. So help me, we are going to sing together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, המוציא לחם מן הארץ. Beautiful choir. I need you for the high holidays. May I take a piece for Paula?
That would be lovely. Thank you so much, Kanta. Careful going down. All right, wait 1 more minute, please. I have a special privilege of introducing our two chairs who have truly worked diligently to make this event successful. Carla Schwartz and Eddie Schmidt. Could you both come up here, please? Carla is amazing. I know many of you know her. Last year, she suggested our speaker, and she is so dynamic and enthusiastic that she easily convinced us that Jane Mosbacher Morris represents all of our values. Carla then went on to make it happen. Now, we all know Eddie from Table 26. He cares, he gives of himself repeatedly, and is incredibly generous. All right, Carla, let's see. this is yours. Now, I'm not taking it out because it's glass.
Thank you.
And the last time I looked at them, I almost broke them. But, 1 minute.
Oh my.
Yours is different. All right. Now, I know Carla knows the purpose of the tzedakah box, and I'm sure she's had many in her house over the years, but Eddie may not. Now, Eddie, this is a symbol. It's not only a symbol, but it's an actual vehicle to give aid and assistance. It represents giving to the needy, giving to worthy causes, and it represents true philanthropy. And you are a true philanthropist, as are you, Carla. We thank you both for practicing tzedakah. Thank you. Enjoy your lunch. I'm going to that way. And now, I want to introduce our acting CEO for JWF, Jennifer Krishner.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending today's Imagine the Possibilities Luncheon, where we highlight JWF's accomplishments in honor of founding trustee Paula Lusbader with this year's Eileen Berman Leadership Award. I am happy to see so many new as well as familiar faces. This is a really wonderful turnout. I want to thank this year's event committee and the JWF professional team, Aaron Leibowitz and Jackie Shapiro Iglesias. You probably met them at registration. I want to thank them for their efforts in making today's event so wonderful. I am so privileged to be JWF's acting executive director and to work with our 119 smart, sophisticated trustees and to have a board of directors so dedicated to the mission and success of the organization. Jewish Women's Foundation of the Greater Palm Beaches is an independent, nonprofit organization dedicated to advancing the status of women and girls locally, nationally, and in Israel. We accomplish this through social change grant making, advocacy and education, and leadership development programming. Although there are many areas where women and girls need support, JWF has identified 3 priority areas in order to maximize our impact: violence prevention, women in politics, and labor and employment. JWF currently funds over 20 organizations and has awarded over $200,000 this past year. Some of our grantees are represented here today, and when I call your organization, please raise your hand. So today we have Futures Without Violence, the Women's Foundation of Florida, Code Art, Women of Tomorrow, Kids Safe, Aid to Victims of Domestic Abuse, and the Lord's Place. Thank you for being here today and for everything you do to improve the lives of women, girls, families, and communities. To our trustees, community partners, and donors, it is you that sustain JWF's important work. When you invest in women, the risk is minimal and the return is immeasurable. If you are interested in learning more about JWF, please contact me or talk to one of our board members who are here today. I would now like to introduce Mia Evans and Brandon Gerardi, participants from No Small Change, JWF's Teen Philanthropy Program.
Hello, my name is Brandon Gerardi, and I'm in 12th grade at Palm Beach Central, and this is my third year at No Small Change.
Hi, I'm Mia Evans. I'm a 12th grader at Dreyfus School of the Arts, and this is my second year. No Small Change is a philanthropic youth organization composed currently of 22 Jewish high school students from Palm Beach County, all the way down to Boca, all the way up to Jupiter.
I decided to participate in No Small Change because I wanted to spread the importance of feminism in the younger generations and to learn about the importance of philanthropy and the Jewish values such as kavod, respect, and tikkun olam, repairing the world. The highlight philanthropic work such as the work we do every year in No Small Change.
I decided to participate in No Small Change because I wanted to learn different ways of tikkun olam and to give a voice to the voiceless and powerless through grant making and giving back.
We meet monthly and learn the areas of strategic grant making, leadership, and Jewish values. We start with a memoir to introduce the meeting and have everyone on the same mindset.
We wanted to share that with you today.
3, 2, 1. May our decisions be thoughtful and intentional. May our grant making make a positive difference in the world. May we give it with a generosity of spirit and humility. May we find ways through our grant making and other activities to inspire others to also give intentionally and generously. And may my thoughts and actions of tzedakah help me to have more feelings of compassion and loving kindness in all aspects of my life. Mia and I are two of the 3 members on the Leadership Council of No Small Change. Being a part of the Leadership Council gives us unique experiences like this, but is awarded to members of No Small Change that have shown a true interest in the goals of No Small Change and philanthropy. We often lead discussions, offer our peers questions to consider, and work closely to make sure No Small Change stays on track to make the largest impact possible on our peers and the communities in need.
Over the past 2 years in No Small Change, we have donated over $25,000 to 4 organizations, 1 in Israel and 3 in the nation, with 2 here in Palm Beach County.
2 years ago, in our first year rewarding a grant, we were able to split $12,000 between Dress for Success Palm Beach and Gender Justice in Minnesota. Dress for Success provides women affected by domestic, sexual abuse or are on the brink of poverty with a way to thrive in life. They provide support for women by providing job readiness courses and provide proper outfits for those who get invited to interviews. Around 60% of the women who graduate from their 2 job readiness courses successfully find a job during or 30 days after their course. On the more diplomatic side is Gender Justice, an organization truly dedicated to the title of their organization. Gender Justice addresses the causes and consequences of gender inequality, both locally and nationally. They believe gender inequality is detrimental for everyone, but focus particularly on the needs of those individuals who have traditionally had difficulties accessing justice by raising money to fund attorneys, find proper plaintiffs, and all other legal expenses.
Last year, we widened our reach and raised $15,000 and split the money between AVDA, Aid to Victims of Domestic Abuse, in Delray Beach, and the Center for Women's Justice in Israel. We decided to give to these 2 organizations that advocate for health, safety, and civil liberties. We used a gender lens, which means that we looked at the equality of each gender helping the organization.
This year, our mission statement is, No Small Change is a co-ed philanthropic leadership program that empowers Jewish teens through education and strategic grant making and advocates for health and safety and economic security in the Jewish community throughout Florida, the U.S., and Israel.
Being a part of No Small Change is important to me because as I am a Jewish teen growing up in South Florida, I have learned that it is very important to give back to the world and to those who need it. I usually am on the end of directly participating in helping the community, which means I'm usually hands-on and volunteering. But the difference with No Small Change is that I'm learning how to indirectly help organizations. I have gained essential lessons on how to philanthropically assist organizations to then directly fulfill their needs. As a high school senior, being a part of No Small Change has given me valuable experiences that typically is not learned until much older in life. I know that as I continue through college and so forth, I will look back on this time and continue to take the skills I have learned and keep using them and giving back throughout my lifetime.
Walking into my first No Small Change meeting, I quite honestly couldn't define philanthropy for you. Walking out, I have not only found a greater understanding of philanthropy, but also an understanding of why it is needed in our world. No Small Change has provided me with a new perspective on life, looking through what we call a gender lens. The gender lens we use during our organizational research for our grant enforces the specification and focus on specified gender support. One example that Jennifer and Aaron provided us with was a research study done on male participants focusing on heart disease that was generalized among men and women. But generalized to both genders, we found, due to its mainly male population sample, these results that were generalized to both genders were found to be entirely false on women. The goal is not to make women seem superior to men, but to equalize the opportunities, roles, responsibilities, research, and respect between men and women. No Small Change has pushed me to break gender stereotypes and feel comfortable doing so, as I know I'm not alone.
Thank you all for coming.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Ed Schmidt, and I want to thank Jennifer and Cynthia for my beautiful gift that I'll treasure forever, and I thank you very much. And for this afternoon, to spend the last 6 months partnering up with Carla for such a great success, to have almost 280 guests in support of the Jewish Women's Foundation. Thank you for coming out. A little shout out to my friends from Banyan. Thank you very much for supporting what we believe is a wonderful organization that gives to so many women and young girls in our community. So thank you very much. So, on behalf of my partner, Ozzy, and I, we are honored and have been asked to support today's Jewish Women's Foundation of the Greater Palm Beach Imagine the Possibilities Luncheon. I've asked to speak today about why JWF is so important to us. It is quite simple. Why not? Why not support an organization that not only shares the same values that we do in supporting our local community, our national community, and our international community? An organization that envisions in a world where gender is not a barrier to safety and success, and women and girls are equal politically, economically, religious opportunities. We support an organization like JWF who works to advance the status of women and girls in the US and Israel. We support the advancement in education and leadership among young girls and women, as well as supporting the development programs to enhance their future. Each year, JWF awards to local, nationally, and internationally organizations over $200,000, with whom share the same philosophy and mission in supporting a better and healthier place for girls, women, and yes, boys too. This has totaled over $2.5 million since the doors of JWF have opened. To name a few organizations that have been gifted, that Jennifer mentioned earlier, grants by financial support over the years as follows. And note, many of whom are here today. Kids Safe Foundation, Women's Foundation of Florida, Futures Without Violence, Gender Justice, the Human Trafficking Legal Center, Unchained at Last, Center for the Advancement of Women in Public Spheres, Women Lawyers for Social Justice, Jewish Agency for Israel, Rachman Center for the Advancement of the Status of Women, and yes, one that Ozzy and I hold close to our heart, the Lord's Place. The Lord's Place works within our community to stop homelessness and give the opportunity that may have never had before with love, support, education, and of course, empowering women daily to achieve a bright future. This is led by the Executive Director, Diane Stanley, and her co-worker, Val Stanley, who are here today. Thank you very much for your commitment to the local community. So clearly, you see how your dollars help so many to achieve what we have. Today, we ask each of you to continue this mission and this dream. for so many girls and women around the world. I ask now for 100% participation from everyone in this room. It will make a difference in a young girl's life or a woman and having an opportunity for a bright, strong, safe, and healthy future. At each of your tables, there's a donation card. We ask you to take a few moments to fill it out, and at each table, there's a captain who will collect these cards in making a difference for all that JFW does. Today, we can make the change. Together, we can change the life of one girl or one woman who has a dream of a better opportunity, maybe the next doctor, political leader, a teacher, or for a woman who is looking for freedom from a place we can't even imagine. So with that, your donation today will continue our mission at JWF. Together, we can change the world. We believe that when women and girls are empowered, the entire community comes together. Imagine the possibilities. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Can I ask everyone to please take their seats? Thank you. I'm Eileen Berman, and I'd like to thank all of you for being here today to celebrate the Jewish Women's Foundation and to express our love and gratitude to a most treasured founding trustee and past chair, Paula Lusbader. I was honored to be the first recipient of the Eileen Berman Leadership Award in our bar mitzvah year of 2015, but I was even happier to share that honor in 2016 with Sidel Sonkin. Where are you, Sidel? And last year with Sandy Krakoff. Sandy? I'm sorry, you can't see from up here. They are both remarkable and accomplished women. But today, it's all about Paula and her immeasurable contributions to Jewish Women's Foundation and the community as a whole. I love Paula Lusbader. Everyone who knows her sees her inner and outer beauty. Her optimism is infectious, and she influences others to see the glass always half full and be activists like herself. Despite many personal challenges over the years, her positive attitude radiates and attracts like-minded women to the causes she supports. Lucky for us, as a lifelong advocate for social justice and empowerment for women and girls, she inspired many friends to join us who are here with us today. Paul has been a founding trustee since 2003. She served on almost every committee, most recently the governance chair. She was very instrumental in our becoming an independent foundation 4 years ago and served as the first year of the newly formed organization. Now, with Paula's permission, I want to share some background information that you may not know in order to illustrate this amazing woman's strength in the force of unexpected life obstacles. All of these experiences contribute to her being the open-minded, passionate, strong feminist leader that she is today. Paula ran her first fundraiser in her 20s for Hadassah when she attracted a huge group of 12 women to give $18 each to come to a luncheon. But that got the ball rolling. Paula married and lived in Pennsylvania with her husband and 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. In her early 30s, her happy life took a tragic turn when her husband and 11-year-old son died in a small plane accident. Several years later, Paula remarried and moved to Washington, D.C. with her girls. But husband number 2 turned out to be a son of a you know what, and as her daughters named him the BM for bad mistake. But Paula took what she learned from an abusive relationship, found strength, and turned a negative into a positive by becoming dedicated to violence protection for women. The next 5 years saw a lot of personal growth for Paula. She went to college. She got very involved in charity work. She participated in women's consciousness-raising groups, which some of you might remember. It seems a little outdated now. She became a community social worker with a degree in community and family services, and then she got her first paying job as the executive director of volunteer services at the JCC, and can finally say, I earned my own money. Concurrently, she raised her two amazing daughters, Susan, who could not be here today, but is a rabbi, and Amy, who considers herself an ordained interfaith minister. Both are activists and volunteers just like their mom. And here's the happy ending. In 1979, Paula met Eddie Lusbader. She describes a good man, and moved to Greenwich, Connecticut, where her volunteer career took off like a rocket. Much of her involvement included being involved with the Jewish Federation. She was president of the Women's Division. She was the president of the Federation's campaign, and then the first female president of the entire Federation. At the same time, if that wasn't enough, she was serving as the president of the Westchester Women's Division of the Einstein College of Medicine. You think she's a doer? Sadly, in 2005, Eddie passed, and Paula continued her activism here in Palm Beach. She's very involved with the Jewish Federation, particularly with the Jewish Film Festival, and fortunately for us, with the Jewish Women's Foundation, which became like a full-time job, Paula, right? Today, Paula is what I call a major influencer because of her warmth, sincerity, respect for others, and her fabulous sense of humor. She says, as a fundraiser, and I quote, "People love to give me money. So I'm cautioning all of you to hold on to your purses and wallets before you get out the door today." And with all of that, Paula's greatest achievement is being matriarch of a large blended family, many of whom are here today, including 6 of her 12 grandchildren. I am so in awe of Paula, and like many of you here today, consider her a role model. So on behalf of the Jewish Women's Foundation family and the entire community, it's my distinct honor to present Paula with the 2018 Eileen Berman Leadership Award.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
It
how
says,
beautiful.
the Eileen Berman Leadership Award is presented to Paula Lusbader for your visionary leadership and passionate commitment to social justice and empowering women and girls.
I don't know where to start.
Take a deep breath.
Thanks. Oh, good afternoon. I have to tell you, I am so incredibly overwhelmed with all of you who have come here today. It's just wonderful. Thank you so much. I said to Eileen, I don't know whether I was listening to a wake or a wedding. So maybe it was my bat mitzvah. Let's say that's what it is. Nonetheless, I'm very grateful and very humbled, and I thank Eileen and the Jewish Women's Foundation for choosing me as their honoree this year. And to my dear family, who's very special to me, all of you community leaders, trustees, maybe some new trustees, and my very dear friends, thank you for being here to help celebrate with me and to listen to my story, some of which you have already heard. In life, we all face challenges, and for me, they were the loss of 2 loved ones and a divorce after living in 2 years of an abusive marriage. So that would have knocked anybody off their pins. But for you who know me, not me. Just as the holiday of Hanukkah that just passed, I rededicated myself to my daughters, to moving on, and to finding new meaning in life. For me, that meaning came in the formation of the new Jewish Women's Foundation and its mission: to envision a world where there are no barriers to the safety and success of women and girls. We advocate social justice for all. Quite a tall order, I know, but the passion which it was presented to me by Eileen Berman, my darling friend, my other darling friend, Michelle Walsh-Leibovitz, it challenged my imagination. It warmed my heart. And it stirred my philanthropic juices, which, I'm sorry, children, there's a lot that you're not going to get after I die. But you know how important this all is to me. I immediately signed up as one of the first 100 trustees. Now, I know there are a lot of first trustees or founding trustees in the room. Could you just raise your hand so everybody can see all the other people who are doing this wonderful work? Please, raise it high. I'm so proud to be part of that sisterhood. I was equally attracted to this organization because every trustee has the opportunity to join our committee of grants and do research on all of the grants that are given to us. Whatever they are, there is a group, and the groups break up into smaller groups, and they do research on every grant that's given to us. They look into their goals, they look into their budget, they look into their board of directors, and God help them if they don't have a woman on their board of directors. So that's how we keep our grant committees moving. And when we finally come back all together, everybody makes a report, and every one of the trustees gets to vote on whether or not we should give them funding. And we always keep in mind that they need to be, as we do, we say, tikkun olam, repairing the world. But we're more than just a grant organization. In our early years, and even now, we focus on violence prevention, calling the community's attention to dating abuse, sex trafficking, and bullying. When there are no requests for grants from the community, we go to the various organizations, and together we create programs that meet their needs and ours. I remember our first grant was to the Center for Women's Justice in Israel. They represent Jewish women who are not allowed to appear in Jewish court and advocate for a divorce for themselves. Without that Jewish divorce, known as a get, these women could not go on with their lives. Sometimes they are made to spend a lot of money, and they still don't get the divorce because the man can have no reason, little reason, and the courts side with them. So I guess this story resonated with me because my ex-husband refused to give me a get. And he wanted an exorbitant amount of money. And he was no charity, believe me. I refused to give it to him, and I never felt truly Jewishly divorced. And I met Ed Lustbader, my new husband, and he, along with his rabbi, negotiated a get for me. And I will never forget that. In all the years I have been involved with philanthropy, the Jewish Women's Foundation, and its dedication to advocating and educating the community about some of the most pressing issues of gender inequality in the workplace, in politics, and in homes, has truly opened my mind and has given me a sense that I am fulfilling my ability to continue to grow and feel relevant no matter how old I get. I know that many of you came here today to honor and share this day with me, and I thank you for making the effort to be here. But what it's really all about is us working together. Working together to dedicate your leadership and resources to empower women and girls to deal with issues that keep them from fully expressing themselves and being active contributors to society. I've been so fortunate to be able to be a part and to stand here as your honoree. For you, I hope you will find your passion in a cause or an organization as I have found mine. Perhaps after today, it will be the Women's Foundation. We have accomplished a great deal, but there is more work to be done. So I challenge you to use your voice and your resources to tell the story of what Jewish Women's Foundation has accomplished and help us to continue this critical work together to enable women and girls to empower themselves to take back their lives. Thank you so much.
Wow, that was one amazing lady, and you've heard we are an amazing organization, and you are a fabulous crowd. I'm Carla Schwartz, I'm the co-chair tonight, and it is my pleasure to introduce Jane Mosbacher Morris. So I first heard about Jane through my daughter-in-law Jessica that went to grade school with her. Then I heard about Jane through my son. His friend worked at the State Department on the counterterrorism desk with Jane. Then I met Jane, and what a fabulous, dynamic woman. Her credentials are impeccable: Georgetown, Columbia. She's just an amazing girl. She's on the advisory committee of the McCain Institute for Human Trafficking. Currently, she's the CEO and founder of To the Market, which sells products from women from vulnerable communities, and it's out in our foyer right now. And by the way, she will be partnering with Bloomingdale's and Target in 2019. And also in 2019, in January, her book will come out, and you will all get a signed copy. Although I must warn you, she told me her handwriting is not very good. But you will get it, and we will get it to you. It's By the Change You Want to See. That's the title of the book. And it seems that everything that Jane does aligns with the values of the Jewish Women's Foundation, whether it's empowering women, investing in women, transforming lives, or making changes in society. It is now my honor to present Jane Mosbacher Morris.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you so much, Carla, for that sweet introduction. She's right, my handwriting is terrible. So I'm warning everyone that it will be my signature, it just won't be particularly legible. But thank you so much for having me, and to my dear childhood friend who's sitting here filming me right now, Jessica, which is Carla's daughter-in-law. Thank you for connecting me to Carla. What a wonderful, powerful woman, and I'm thrilled to be here. And Paula, congratulations. What an incredible honor, and obviously incredibly deserved. Your story is really inspiring, so thank you for sharing it. And to Jennifer, for putting on such an incredible event, thank you for including me. Investing in women is such a great theme. It's an easy theme for me to understand because it could be a great theme for almost anything, for a fundraising campaign, as an investment thesis, or even as a business strategy. I'm no doubt preaching to the choir, but despite being overlooked and undervalued for much of history, women actually deliver outsized results. For example, when just 10% more girls go to school in a developing country, that GDP rises on average 3%, which is quite significant. Similarly, when companies have at least one female founder, they outperform all male-founded teams by an average of 63%. Or when traditionally male-focused brands begin to focus more on marketing to women, they see significant results, such as when Nike started advertising more to women, they saw an almost 15% increase in revenue. That's not chump change. It's pretty significant. And it's statistics like these that double down my own personal commitment to women as customers, as clients, and ultimately as partners on the ground in the more than 20 countries that my business to the market is working in. And as I think about the value chain to the market is creating, from the women on our production lines, to the buyers at our retail stores, to the investors in our cap table, I am proud that there are women benefiting and making money at every step of the process. But as Carla alluded to, my professional career did not start with a focus on women. In fact, it started in a very different place. A little less than 20 years ago, I distinctly remember the moment that I was sitting in history class and my teacher explained to us that 2 planes had flown into the World Trade Center. Like many, my mind began to race as my school's nearby proximity to New York City. I was living in Connecticut at that point. And I found myself wondering how a person of proposed faith could commit these acts of terror. I had actually more than 20 relatives die in the Holocaust and wanted to better understand what gave rise to such feelings of hate. As I explored this question further, my studies began to narrow, and I wound up attending Georgetown School of Foreign Service with a focus on international politics and counterterrorism. When I landed a job at the U.S. Department of State in the Office of Counterterrorism, I was certain my destiny would consist of reading threat assessments and writing policy briefs. Yet as my travel and my work began, I increasingly found myself overseas spending a disproportionate amount of time with women. Women in civil society, women in the military, women in law enforcement, all earnestly trying to fight the scourge of terrorism, yet pointing out to me over and over and over again a consistent road bump in their efforts to make change. Money. The spotlight on money was in no way a reflection of greed or a naivete that cash cures all. Instead, the women consistently pointed out that with limited resources comes limited influence. And with limited influence comes limited power to make change. Without the ability to earn, to share, or to inherit an income, they are ultimately reliant on someone or something else. On the flip side, access to resources, whether earned, shared, or inherited, allowed for women to make their own decisions about their life, about their family, their children, and their community. Realizing that my work on the ground would be of limited use if more women were not at the bargaining table with chips in their hand, I began studying markets in the developing world, trying to understand where there was opportunity for investment and for growth and for job creation. I quickly learned that the agriculture sector, which is the largest economy in the developing world, was actively engaged with nonprofits and for-profits alike, pursuing advances to open markets, to raise wages, and to empower women. But when I looked at the second largest economy in the developing world, what is described as the artisan industry, an industry that includes makers of all kinds, from sewers to leather workers to woodworkers to beaters, I found minimal engagement. Despite the size of the market, again, the second largest economy in the developing world, so in the billions, I saw little, if any, meaningful investment by brands, by retailers, or even governments and nonprofits to tap into the sector dominated by women throughout the developing world. As I continued my professional journey, which, as Carla noted, included an MBA at Columbia, a move to the Secretary's Office of Global Women's Issues at the State Department, and a transition to work for Cindy McCain on human trafficking and labor exploitation, I understood that the artisan industry was one that I could build upon to create systematic change for women around the world. I could connect female makers operating in this overlooked industry, from small batch artisans in Afghanistan to large women-owned factories in places like India, to the international market. This would include connecting them to buyers of their products, US-based retail merchants, and individual consumers, most of whom are women. Fast forward to today, and To the Market does just that. We connect makers from around the world with brands, retailers, and corporations here in the United States. We've built a growing network of over 100 suppliers in more than 20 countries, including in the United States. Women that were once overlooked and underestimated now create products, as Carla said, for clients like Bloomingdale's, Dillard's, and Target, as well as corporations and nonprofits. This market access allows these makers to grow their businesses, to create more jobs, and ultimately to empower women and girls. Our credo is simple but bold. We all spend money on products. Why not harness our purchasing power for good? Most of us don't realize how much purchasing power we actually have and how much it matters. The average American family earns about $75,000 a year and spends about $57,000 of that $75,000. Half of that tends to go to things like housing, insurance, pension, health insurance, leaving nearly $30,000 for things like food, transportation, and non-necessities. That's a lot of money spent daily on things like coffee and groceries. And I think our purchasing power is like an untapped superpower. We might buy a morning bagel at one shop rather than another because it's on our way to work, or drop $30 on a gift card for a friend's birthday. But we can slow down and actually make these micro decisions a bit more thoughtful. For example, for mom and pop stores around the country and micro entrepreneurs in the artisan and agriculture sectors, every purchase matters. These businesses stay afloat because a handful of people or businesses decide each day to buy from them. Your birthday money, if spent on a bracelet made by a cooperative employing, let's say, human trafficking survivors, can have a huge significance, not just to the friend who receives this thoughtful gift, but also to the woman who rolled the beads for it. For example, when Macy's placed their first order with To the Market, it included products made by women across the country of Haiti. The order helped provide a month's worth of employment for close to 100 people. And because, as we know, one woman's livelihood affects many others, those employed artisans further supported about 500 people. The order did so many different things for various artisans. It helped pay for drinking water for one artisan family for a month. and helped employ the guy who actually drives around to sell the water because water is not readily available in Haiti. It was used to buy food from a local vendor and pay the school entrance fee and exam fees for the artisans' children. It also helped pay the guy who actually buffs the kids' school shoes and the taxi driver who takes them to school, as most do not have cars and there are not school buses. The order helped pay for much-needed medical supplies for some and helped cover the cost of a generator for a small business. How truly magical that a single order like this can have such a massive ripple effect. Which brings me to the theme of the book, which I'm so delighted everyone will have a copy of when it's published at the end of January. Buy the change you want to see. Use your purchasing power to make the world a better place. And it brings me to the theme, of course, of this luncheon. As shared, your philanthropic dollars to support women's causes are a critical part of shaping a future that is safe and healthy and empowering for everyone. But let us also remember that our capacity to make change through purchasing is also an easy way that women can invest in women every single day. And with that, I think we have a little bit of time for questions, if there are questions from the group. There are 2 microphones at the front, if anyone has questions.
Hi. Thank you very much for your inspirational talk. Which countries are you tending to prioritize lately?
So we have suppliers in over 20 countries, which includes the US, and we do a tremendous amount of what is called cut and sew work. So that is literally the cutting and sewing of apparel and accessories in India. We also do a lot of home goods and giftables from Haiti. But we have partners literally from Afghanistan, where I used to do work in counterterrorism, to Guatemala, all over Africa, a very significant range. So. So the question was, how do you identify and vet the suppliers? So great question. We have a global network of people that live and work overseas that refer suppliers to us, or artisan groups to us. They then go through a vetting process that my team has put together that's reflective of everything from environmental impact to labor conditions to working conditions to product and pricing, of course. So that's an overview of our vetting process.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Brian O'Connor. I'm with Futures Without Violence, a grantee of the foundation, so thank you for that. And as a fellow, thanks. No, thank you. And as a fellow Georgetown and Columbia grad, I want to say hello, by the way. Have you found that the retailers are able to influence the artisans to organize in a way that helps, as a collective, helps keep them safer? Are the retailers able to pressure, even if you will, various policies or even legislation within the country that can help keep women and girls safer?
That's a great question. I'm a huge believer in market forces driving change. I think without the market being involved, it's very difficult to have businesses align in a sustainable way for social change. We specifically partner with suppliers that are already organized in a way that reflects the highest of social and environmental standards. That said, I also sit on an advisory board for a company called VF Corporation, which is about a $12 billion company. It's public, owns Vans, Wrangler, Timberland, North Face, just a number of very significant national brands. And that is a great example of a very big business. I think it's about a $12 $12 billion business that has absolutely used its purchasing power in countries around the world to pressure governments to make advances in things like a living wage and having safer work environments, more mobility in the workplace, support for mothers working in the workplace. And so there are definitely examples of businesses around the world who are operating specifically in the developing world whose influence is significant because they create and sustain so many jobs. And in turn, they're able to use that influence to pressure governments to make changes that better reflect, better respect people and the planet. Are there other questions? Sure. So the question was about the McCain Institute. So I had the pleasure of serving as the Director of Humanitarian Action for the McCain Institute, which is a nonpartisan nonprofit set up by the late Senator John McCain and his wife, Cindy McCain. I specifically worked on their human trafficking and labor exploitation portfolio, which is a real interest area of Mrs. Cindy McCain. They actually focus a lot on legislative changes, specifically around sex trafficking in the United States. So things like making sure that women who are arrested, unfortunately, when they are in fact the victims, are not then given a record that they're then not able to move on and get another job, even though they were victims. So these types of dynamics obviously still sadly exist. So that's an example of the type of legislative work that they work on a state-by-state basis. But it was a tremendous loss to lose the senator this year. He is an incredible inspiration. Mrs. McCain is an absolute force herself, has a huge, huge heart for women and girls in particular. And since leaving the Institute full-time, I now sit on their advisory board for human trafficking. Thank you, Carla. Thank you all. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our program for today. And our boutiques are still open. And again, a big thank you and a big hug.